Now, as our next steps, we've got three main things we're going to do. One is we're going to create the animated spinning fans that I'll create at the top here. And then we'll create the animated rotating coin and finally introduce our purple character and give him some interactivity. In other words, give him some motion through some keyboard commands. Okay. Now I can also anticipate we may need to turn off the movability of all of these elements as well, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. So to start with, let me just click over to my Assets tab, and we have a fan blade and a fan cover. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually create this formally through the Actors panel. So what I'll do is I'll click the plus sign. I'll actually rename it right away, Fan Blade, and introduce the image through the attributes under the Actor tab here. So I'll just drag down here and you can see an image input here. Now this will display all current images in the library. And it's fan blade that I'm looking for right there. Now I will introduce that to the stage, but I want to check a couple of things out here, namely the size. Because different things occur differently also on the PC, I've noticed, when we introduce it this way versus dragging directly from the Assets tab. You can see here that the width is set at 120 by 120. I'm actually going to introduce the fan cover the same way, and let's see what size that is, and if we need to adjust it. The fan cover should be a little bit bigger, or this should be smaller, but relatively speaking the fan cover should be bigger. So I'm going to add a second actor here, and I'll call this one fan cover. Okay, hit my enter key, and once again under my attributes go apply the fan cover image. And let's see what that size is. That is also 120 by 120. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to bring my fan blade down to 100. I mean, I'll actually drag it onto the stage and show you, because you can actually change it after the fact. So let's drag fan blade. We'll put it right there. And I'm just going by eye on these things. Fan cover. And don't drag it directly over. As you saw that highlight, I believe that would replace it. But I want the blade to just look a little bit smaller. So I'm going to just visually center that. And go back to the blade and change the size manually over here. I could have done it with a click and a drag on the stage, but I want to control it through the attributes. Okay, actually I need to click on it first. And if you have a hard time clicking on something that's underneath, this brings me to another interesting PowerPoint, if you will. Go over to your layers, and we'll just open that up. And you can see how that's on top of that. So on the stage, it might be almost impossible to highlight it. So I can highlight it here. And that way I've highlighted something that's underneath another object. So through my layers, I've been able to select the fan blade. Now I will go over here with it selected and change that to a 100 by 100. Open that up there, 100 by 100, hit my tab key, and now you can see that it's a little bit smaller. So the next thing I want to do to this is I want to actually create a rotation on it. So I'm going to drag my backstage up a bit here. And we're going to simply attach a rotate behavior. There is one that exists in our library under behaviors. So with, again, the fan currently selected, and you can also see it in the preview here so you know you have the fan, is just drag down till I find rotate. There it is there, and we just drag that to the backstage. And really, direction clockwise, counterclockwise, let's say clockwise. Speed of 90, I'm going to live with that, or at least take a look at that. And if I want to change it, I'll come back and change it. So I'm going to hit my preview button here, play. And there it is. And you know what? I'm good with the speed and everything. I think I'm just going to nudge the cover over a little bit just because I'm fussy like that. So in this case, I can actually click on the cover on the stage, and I can see it represented over here in the attributes, so I know what I've got here. And use my arrow keys to nudge that over. And you know what? That might be enough right there for my high standards. All right, let's click play again. And there we go. And yeah, I can nudge it up and maybe another pixel. I'll do that, and I'm going to live with it regardless after that. So I'm going to click it on the stage and nudge it up. There we go. Let's say that's all good. So I'm going to create 3 sets of those. So I will go back to my actors. Fan blade. Once this is on the stage, actually that's a little bit odd, isn't it? Let me just check the size there. Oh, I don't know what happened there, but let me just correct that. Hit my enter key. All right. And I can alt click and drag to duplicate that, because the thing is it already has the behavior attached to it. So they should all rotate now. Let me just check that. I'm just going to center these guys here. All right, let's just see if they all rotate. And they do. Again, that's because they're all instances of the one original prototype. So whatever behaviors, whatever attributes are attached to that prototype, when we drag it out on the stage, it creates another iteration of itself, if you will. It's like a clone. Nice thing here, though, is they're not only like clones. If I was to make a change back on the original prototype, it would reflect in every instance of that item. So now we'll just put the fan covers on, and actually I'll take this fan cover, alt click and drag, and just kind of visually position that. Again, alt click and drag, and just kind of, I'm going a little quick here, but let's just see what that looks like. You know what, that's just fine. I'm going to live with that. So that is using a rotate behavior to create some 2D animation directly on the screen. Let me just save that and move on to the next step. Okay, so we're going to actually use the animate behavior next, and that's to apply to the coins. So again, I will go in here and create a new actor. I'll call it coin. Okay, and what I'll do to begin with is just place one image in there so I can locate it on the stage. And we'll just go with coin 1. It's the nice full frontal view. And the size, let's see there, 120. Yeah, I definitely think I want to make that smaller. Well, let me drag it on the stage and see what it looks like first. Okay, I certainly want to make that a lot smaller. Maybe as small as half that size. Let's see here. I'll try 60 by 60. And we'll see what that gives us here. Hit my enter key. And I guess I could have gone 80 by 80. Maybe I'll go 80 by 80. I'll leave this up to you, but it looks better, I think, at this size. Or closer to my original demo, at least. Okay, 80 by 80 pixels. All right. So let's just see what we get there. Right now, if I hit preview, it's just static, right? So what I can do now is actually attach an animate behavior to our coin. So if I select it there, under the prototype tab, I will go to my behaviors here, and it's called animate. So it's up here, animate. Drag that down to the backstage. And I'm just going to drag this up so I can see all of the properties for animate. And what we do is we apply each frame or each graphic that should animate in sequence. Now I'm going to try this as a drag them all at once approach and see if that works. If not, you can see that they're sequenced by the number, and that should be the case with these files. So it's coin 01 through coin 10. If I drag them all at once by selecting the first one and then shift click to the last one, let's just drag them over to that window, and it looks like it did work. All right, let me just preview that right now. Okay, it worked. In the event that that would not work, you can delete these. And what I would do is delete them all, and I would drag them in one at a time in sequence. So the first one first, the second one second, the third one third, in the event that they don't come in order. As far as the other settings go, I'm going to leave them at their defaults, 10 frames per second, loop, restore actor image when done. Okay, so we're going to leave all of that on. And you can open and collapse these behaviors, by the way, just so you know. Another thing too is if you're in test mode, you can turn them off and on. So when things get more complex, you can troubleshoot by isolating certain things by turning them off and on. So I'll make sure that that's on again. I want to save my file. And if I go to my actors here, I have the coin. And if I hit play, the coin appears to be rotating in a 3D kind of way. It's an illusion, of course, as you know. It's just a frame-by-frame animation of a rendered image generated from a 3D program. Okay, so let's go back here. We're doing quite well. Now we will finally introduce our little character. So I'm going to hide the backstage, or I'll actually just drag it down here a bit. And again, I will just formally create it this way through the Actors tab. I'll call it, oh, I don't know, Purple Guy. I'm sure it's not what I called it in the demo, but that's what I'm calling it now, Purple Guy. Okay. And I'll introduce the front standing image as the beginning image for that. Player standing. There we go. And now I'll introduce him to the stage, and we'll get some behaviors attached, such as the gravity and the motion. And then at the last step, I will apply the animation for falling, the animation for moving left, and the animation for moving right. Okay, so let's start by dragging him out to the scene. And let's see, he looks a little big, but you know what? Yeah, you know what? I think he's good that size. A little short on the step there. Maybe I should have lengthened that one out. Yeah, I think I'll do that. No, I think I'll leave it. I'm just going to make him smaller. So let's go in here. And let's try 80 by 80. Okay. Yeah, and I'll live with him being a little bit smaller like that. He should fit on the stairs okay. He just barely fits here, but it's okay. I see that I probably should have made this one longer, but I'm not going to revisit that. If you want to make yours longer, by all means do so. Okay, so he's up here. He's going to start about here. I want to have him fall, and I want to have it so that when he lands on a surface, the surface, he will stop. He won't just go through it. So we'll do that one at a time, feature-wise. I'll start by creating the fake gravity, which I do using an accelerate command behavior. So we just drag accelerate into the backstage. Now this is based on direction. So 0 degrees is horizontal to the right, 90 degrees is up, 180 is to the left, and 270 is down. So I'm going to put in 270 for my direction. And let's just see if accelerate mode at 100 is a reasonable speed, I guess. You know what, that is reasonable, but as you see there, he's falling through. There's no collision. He doesn't stop when he encounters the other graphics. So we need to put in what's called a collide. And I'm just going to go back to my tabs here, or to my actors. And I want to collide it with any one of these elements as well as the plank. You know what? Let me just change that name to plank. Okay, so there's a feature in here known as tags, because I don't want to put in a collision behavior to address all 5. That would certainly work, but I want to save time. So there's a feature called tags, and I can actually attach a tag to any object, and then I can say collide with objects with this tag, and then it's just one behavior versus 5 behaviors. So let me demonstrate that now. We have our tag button up here. There is a default tag called all, as you can see here, but I'm just going to make a new one, and then I'll double click it, and I'll call it platform. Okay, platform. Now, to attach this tag to any of these objects, I believe I can just simply drag those objects over that tag. So I'm selecting all the brick elements and the plank. Drag them over to platform. And let me just open it. It looks like somehow I missed that selection. So let me just, oh, it looks like I can only do one at a time. That's what it is. So here we go, one at a time. and brick floor. Okay, so if I close all for a second so I can see, I have a tag called platform, and it includes the plank and all 4 brick elements. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight our little purple guy here. So let's just go up to our library here, and I've got the collide behavior. Bounce when colliding with actor of type. Again, if I use this actor of type, I would have to put 5 of them in. So I'm just going to go with tag. And there's only one tag. So when it encounters anything tagged with platform, it should create a collision. Now I do anticipate them flying all over the place and stuff, but let's see what happens here when he drops and then collides with anything tagged with the word platform. And as anticipated, we're getting a lot of weird things. So I know what needs to be done here. We need to turn off the movability of all the platform elements, and we need to turn off the rotate feature for our little guy. So let's do those 2 things. So to start with, I will go over to my actors. Under plank, I'm going to go down to physics and turn off movable. And I'll do that for all of these elements. So here we'll do that. Go down to physics, turn off movable. It's too bad I can't do them all at once. And turn off movable. Okay, I have 2 more left to do here. So I'm just opening up my physics tab and unchecking the movable checkbox. Physics, all right, there we go. Uncheck that. So that's step 1. So all of these things now will not fly around, but I also want to make it so that he doesn't topple. So let's go back to the all, select purple guy. And again, under physics, there's also a fixed rotation, and I will click fixed rotation. Therefore, he will not topple when he comes off, let's say, the edge of the platform here. Let me just save that. There was quite a few changes there, and test that as well. Okay, so he drops. Okay, so we've got some stability, but there's a serious bounce issue. So I'm going to turn the bounce off on the plank as well. And I'll turn his bounce way down to go along with that. So the plank, where's the plank? Again, that is under physics. A lot of little details in this one. Bounciness. Let's just turn that down to 0. That probably won't do anything on the PC version. On the Mac version, it actually does, but not on the PC version. So I will go to the purple guy now and turn his bounciness down under physics. I'm going to say let's say 0.25, and just see how that bounces out. 1 is sort of like, means that it will bounce back to its starting point. So anything lower than 1 will have a decay. So let's just have a look and see. You know what? I'm pretty happy with that. It kind of settles fairly quickly and does seem close to Earth gravity, if you will. So I guess the next step will be to apply some movement to our purple guy. So we're going to attach that using rules. And let me just drag this up here. Actually, I'll select purple guy there. Drag this up here. And I'm just going to collapse these guys. And we need to create a rule which says if we press a certain key and he's on a platform, move him in a certain direction. So I'm going to click on the add rule. I'll say we have to drag a condition here. The conditions are also under this tab. Or I can type it in here. I'll go collision. Yeah, it's collision in fact, not collide. An actor of tag platform. And let's add a second condition. And I can actually begin to type that one in too. And it's the keyboard, so I'll go key. And I can hit key. Receives a key press. I can insert my cursor there and hit the appropriate key. So I'm going to go with the right arrow key. And then what will it do? It will move. So I'm going to drag the move behavior right here. And in what direction? 0 is directly to the right at a speed of 300. I'm going to slow that down to maybe 200. Save my file and give it a test. So what's going to happen here is actually going to change the rule name to move right. Okay, move right. So when the actor encounters the tag platform and the key is pressed, the right key is pressed, it will move it. In other words, it won't move it when it's in the air. So let's just try that. Okay, and once he settles, let me hit my right arrow key, and it did move. There we go. So let's do that all again for the left one. Now, normally I probably would copy this and just change a few things, but because we're in lesson mode, I'm going to do it from scratch. So I'm just going to click Add Rule. I'll change the rule name right away. Move left. Okay, and I'll do the drag this time. It's called collision. We'll drag it down here. But you saw that I can type in the first couple letters and it gives me hints and I can select it. But we want it to collide with, when it, say the condition is when it collides with any actor that's tagged with the tag platform, that it will move. Now we want a second condition, and that's which key is pressed. And you can see the key condition right there, C for condition. I can drag that down. So a couple of ways of doing it there. So we'll just hit the left arrow key, and then under do, we'll drag the move command, the move behavior. Okay, right there, there it is, move. And now this one we want to move to the left, and the left is 180 degrees. So hit that in my tab key, and I'll slow it down to 200. Hit my tab key, save that. I'm going to save it on my keyboard here, and do a quick test. Okay, so it moves left, moves right. And if I keep moving it here, there's a bit of bounce. And you know what? I guess I'll have to turn the bounciness down on all of these guys. So let's do that now as well. Bit of a pain, to be honest, but that's the way it goes. So brick floor, we'll go up to physics. A lot of grunt work here. Bounciness, set it to 0. Hit your enter key and do it for all 4. Physics, bounciness, 0, enter, brick, and at least it's popping up here when I click on physics. 0, enter, and brick and left as well. Physics. This is why you should test frequently. You know, every time you make a change, test that it works. Now I'm going to save that again. Save, and give that a quick test. Now it shouldn't bounce when he goes down the stairs. Or not so much, rather. Okay, there we go. And that's better. And he does sit there, so I'm going to leave that. There we go. Okay. So let's animate it now. Let's attach some animation to when he falls and when he moves left and right. Okay, we're really moving along here. So let me select Buddy here, and we'll go to the backstage, and I'm going to close these guys. And we're going to, actually, you know what, I'm going to open Move Right, and it'll be included under the Do. So when we hit the arrow key and he's on a platform, it will not only move, but it will animate. And there's a few different ways we could have done this, but I'm simply going to tag it along with the Move Right. So it's called animate. There we go. And we'll drag that down into here. And here is, actually I'm going to drag that up even more. Here is where I need to go into my assets and carefully choose the right ones. We're under the move right command. So we will grab those and drag those 3 in there. Now I will again drag the first one to end it though. Or rather the second one. The second one here. And add that to the end. Now let's see what happens when he walks to the right. There we go. And we need to do that for the left. And we'll also do that for when he's dropping. Okay, so let's close that move right now. And I'll open up move left. And we'll introduce the animate behavior. And we'll introduce the images that should animate within that behavior. And these are the walk left. Now the way I've designed it is you're going to repeat the number 2 at the end. So grab those first 3, drag them in, and then just grab the second one and drag it into the tail end of that. Save my file and I can test left and right. Okay, so hit the preview button. When he lands, he should animate in both directions. There we go. That's a lot more convincing. Okay, so back to the editor. Okay, so now we'll do the falling motion. Just going to close that, and I'll create a new rule. I'll actually name it. I don't know if you can hear my dog coming in the room there. Falling. Okay. Speaking of falling. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to attach that to a collide feature. Again, a collide condition. So let me go over here. And maybe I'll do this one with the shortcuts. So collision, and you can see it appears as a hint, and if I hit enter it puts that condition in. And again, I want it, say, when it collides with tag platform, that it assumes this image as its default. The way I'm going to do this is, well, you'll see here, when it collides with the platform, do the following. And that's called change image, sorry. Change image. And let's just pick player standing. And I'm going to say by default, when it's touching the ground, he assumes that position. Otherwise, do the animation. So we're going to do our first else today. Else. And the else will be an animate. Else animate. And let me just grab the wiggly animations here. So that's player falling 1 and 2. Let me just grab those guys with my shift key here. And we should be good with that. Let's just test that and see what happens. There we go. And you see when he bounces, then he finally rests. Okay, so I'll just hit the reset button here and we'll do that again. And there he's falling until he touches the platform and rests on the platform, where he assumes the default image. Okay, so this is under the else command. And we only have one thing to do now, which is to allow him to eat that coin and attach a sound to it when that happens. So we'll go back to my editor. Okay, so for the actor eating the coin, let me just hide this for a second. When he comes down, if he moves over, he eats the coin. I'm just going to attach that behavior to the coin, in fact, to the coin actor. So we can highlight it here if you want. I'm going to open this up and drag this down a bit. And I'll close that animate rule. And we'll just attach another rule. Based on a collision, the coin will disappear as well as generate a noise. So here's the rule. Again, I can go collide, so I'll do it manually this time with a drag, and it's C for conditions. Collision. Overlaps with actor of type. This time I want it to be type, and I want it to be the purple guy. So if it collides with purple guy, do the following. And there will be 2 things here. Let me raise this up. 2 things. I want it to self-destruct, and there's one called destroy here. Destroy, which just means this particular asset on the stage will disappear. Second thing I want it to do, though, is to play the sound. So there is a play sound option as well. I'm going to put that before it. And you should see any sound that's in my library should appear in this pull-down menu. And there is my coin sound. Okay, we should be good here. Let me just save this. And a quick test. Okay. So again, we've got left and right, and here we go. He's going to eat that coin, which is bigger than him, and bada bing. So let me just hit reset. I'll do that one more time. And I'll just quickly go back to the code. but this is your assignment for today. So he eats the coin, then he can take off and fall down the various steps and settle down when he hits the platforms and just face forward, but he animates when you move left and move right. These fans should be rotating constantly as well. So I'll hit reset one more time. Okay, so he drops from the sky, bounces a little bit. The bounce is 0.25 on purple guy. Goes over, eats the coin, it disappears, makes a sound, and he can walk around. Okay, so this is your exercise for today. There we have, again, the rule. I'm going to actually change the name here to Eat Gets Eaten. There we go. And that's the name of that tune. So I want you to do this assignment for me today.